Hi, my name is Tyler Dupay, and I am here from Dread Central.
Hi, nice to meet
Hi,
you.
hi, Ashley. It's such a pleasure to meet you too. Uh, Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so delighted.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. So, Ashley, it's my understanding that this is your first foray into horror as a performer. Are you a fan of the genre as a viewer?
Yes, yes, I am a huge fan. I was a huge fan of the films and of a lot of the horror films out there, from The Exorcist to The Grudge is really good and 13 Ghosts. Like I'm a huge fan, but can't watch it alone and only during the day.
Of
But
course.
yeah, was
I'm
really excited to be a part of one.
I'm so excited to hear that you like 13 Ghosts because I think that's a really unfairly hated remake that is just a lot of fun and the set design is beautiful. So I'm
Yeah,
right there with you.
yeah.
Um, Curious though, now that you've actually seen a horror series deconstructed from the ground up, do you think you'll be less skittish to watch horror movies by yourself because you've kind of seen, this is how it's built?
I think it depends on the type. Like anything dealing with like religion or being possessed and that kind of like that's something I still have a very hard time watching. But things like Texas Chainsaw or like I know you did last summer, I think will be easier for me to watch just because, being on set of one like that.
Most definitely. So please forgive me for being tragically out of touch. I turned 40 this year and I'm not
Oh.
nearly as young or as hip as someone like yourself. Uh, but I'm wondering if you can school me on some of the slang you use as a young, hip, trendy type. Like I learned from the show that, sus is short for suspect.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just wondering, what are some other examples of trendy language that I may be using incorrectly or possibly even unaware of?
Um, I know one that I don't even know if this would count as one, but like Margot, she's always just like, how ugly of you. Where it's just like I don't even know how to describe, but that's like one I can't like off the top of my I can't think of any right now. Were there any other ones that stood out to you that I could
I mean, I'm starting to get familiar with low key. Low key is like not the traditional meaning of low key, but it's like I kind of like am I understanding that right? Like
yeah, like
low
low
key
key,
this
like
means I kind of like this or
hmm, yeah.
okay.
And
Okay.
Margot also uses high key a lot too. High,
Right, right.
yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, those are good ones.
Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much. You're teaching me things, you're infusing me with your youth, your youthful knowledge of slang, and I can desperately use it.
Mhm.
Ashley, the film I Know What You Did Last Summer was released in 1997, which, personally having lived through 1997 as a teenager, I think it was a much simpler time in some ways. Can you talk a bit about how the inclusion of social media plays into this adaptation of I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Yeah, I mean, it plays a huge part. And, people literally document their entire lives on social media and, TikToks and, the kids are very heavily involved in that. And is also something they have to be careful with just because they don't want to show too much. I mean, it can get you in some trouble. So yeah, you see a lot of that in this series. And yeah.
So as me personally, I am a huge fan of JamesOne and suspect you might be too, based on your taste in movies. And with that in mind, I'm curious, how big of a role did he play as an executive producer? Was he ever on set with you guys, or did he take a more hands-off approach?
I know he also had I think a lot of other projects going on, but he so wasn't really on set, but worked a lot of behind the scenes and I mean putting this together. So
Sure, certainly. The characters in the I Know What You Did Last Summer Amazon series are much naughtier than I remember being at 18 or 19. And I don't necessarily need, the event, the inciting event that the series is based around. I'm talking about consumption and distribution of, illicit substances, sex tapes, and so on. Do you think the show is representative of the kind of mischief the average teenager is getting up to these days? Or do you think it's, kind of played up for TV?
I think, even with these characters, they all know that behind every action that they take part in, there are consequences, So, yeah, it's not that like it's glorified in any way. It's just a part of their life, but they know that that's something they're going to have to pay for in every decision they decide to make.
Certainly, certainly. All of the characters in the series have been through, in one way or another, and through one shared event, a tremendous ordeal. And each of them is kind of dealing with a lot as a result. But I would say that each character has moments where they're vulnerable and we see them with their guard down. With that in mind, is there any facet to Riley that you identify with in particular?
Yeah, I think I relate to her in many ways, and I think it's watching her decide if she wants to open up to Dylan and allow him to know like she has feelings for him, or does she just swallow that and remain friends with him and keep that friendship. I've been through battles like that many times, and yeah, I think that's one thing.
Certainly. Well, I know that you as a cast member probably don't have the final say on, if the series is renewed, where the second season would go. But just, I would love to hear your perspective on, would you like to see the storyline of any surviving characters continued in a season 2? Or do you think it would be interesting to see it just, completely rebooted with a new cast?
No, I would love to see it continue with, the cast that still stand, and them, going on with the story. And I think it would be so much fun. And I think the audience would want that as well, too, hopefully. Yeah.
I agree. And probably that's what the film series did. And, it's nice to have, a carry through, so each one doesn't exist as its own isolated thing. I mean, that can work well, like American Horror Story does. But I agree with you. I think that if there is a season 2, it'd be really neat to see a continuation of, whoever makes it out of the next, the remainder, the balance of the episodes alive.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, awesome. Ashley, I think that's everything that I've got for you. But thank you so much for your time. You've been such a delight to talk to.
Thank you. And you too.
And I hope that you have just a terrific day, and best of luck with all of your what I am sure to be your future successes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was nice talking to you.
Okay. I think we are good. Thank you again, genuinely. And I just, like I said, can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. You have a good one.
Bye. Bye.